Hello and welcome to another episode of the Expanse Abridged Podcast series. Today on chapter 53, which is a Holden chapter of the first book in the series, Leviathan Wakes. So the last time we were with the boys, the previous two chapters actually, with the Sharps, Miller's just been saying, I have a problem. And now, the last chapter we learned the problem was that Julie Mao is still alive and controlling Eros. We're somehow hooked into it. She thinks she's piloting the Razorback, it's Miller's hunch. So he keeps talking about that. So the station's kind of a bit more sentient than it otherwise would be. And now we kind of join the other side of the conversation from Holden's point of view, where Miller opens up. Holden's like, actually, no, we've sorted out this problem. We're going to nuke it. What he thought the problem was. So no one has to die. They throw a load of nukes at it. Well, Miller's like, no, we've got something else. So Miller opens being like, look at my suit's medical data. And they go for this little back and forth being like, yeah, mate, you're quite irradiated, but other than that, you're chill. He's like, am I suffering from hypoxia? Nah. Am I on alcohol, opiates, something? I was like, nah. He's like, okay, cool. So now you know that. You know I'm not mad. He pauses, he lowers his voice, goes a bit, and then enough that Holden gets uncomfortable because he's got a different tone. Goes, she's alive. There was only one she in Miller's universe, Julie Mao. Okay, not sure how to respond to that, says Holden, which is a bit of a Marvel-esque line. But anyway, I think it's pretty realistic on that one. Again, they're looking at his blood, and he's like, Miller doesn't even seem that stressed given he's carrying a bomb to his own funeral. Miller, Julie's dead. We saw her body, sure. She didn't have a heartbeat, Holden said. No brain activity, no metabolism. That's pretty much the definition of dead. How do we know what dead looks like to the protomolecule? We don't, I guess, Holden said, but no heartbeat, that's a good start. Miller goes, this shit hasn't been playing by our rules since day one. You expect to start now? Holden smiled to himself. Miller was right. So basically they realised that although Julie was dead when they saw her in that hotel room with their little shootout, in reality if the protomolecule can move asteroids around pretty easily, that may not mean that much. If it can take over a body or a mind or something like that. And Miller goes, she's here, she's in here, her mind, she thinks she's flying the Razorback. It's been babbling about it on the radio for hours now. Why is she headed towards Earth? I don't know. He sounded excited, interested, more alive than Holden had ever heard him. I just need to find her, Miller said. Talk to her. Holden's like, well, it doesn't really matter, you'll be dead in less than 30 hours. Holden's like, can you find her in 27 hours, which is how long the things have got. Earth fired her entire planetary nuclear arsenal, because Miller's like, why? And then he goes, Jesus. Yeah, Holden said with a sigh. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I've had a lot going on, and it slipped my mind. Which is a very, very funny way to say about your new friend. Like, I forgot you were on there, I've just ordered you to be the most dead man ever. Miller goes, you can stop them, you can shut down the transponders, i.e. the things that are guiding the missiles in. And Naomi's looking at the comms, looking at his suit data going, his medicals are fine, he must be fucking mental. Holden's like, no, this is our last shot, we can't do it. And Miller's pleading, he's like, getting frustrated and pleading, he's like, I can find her, I can talk to her. And he kind of, his argument really kind of articulates over the next couple pages is the protomolecule's going to come up and meet a load of single cell life because it was from billions of years ago. So it'd just be like little microbes, maybe like a small bush or a tree. It wasn't ready to meet humans. So whatever it was going to do, it's been improvising ever since. It's been latching onto things. It's been trying to do stuff. So they saw in the Preluge and various points when they were on the stealth ship, they made that really big mess, and that's protomolecule trying to do something. We saw it did at Eros, and it's experimenting all the noise. So the whole idea is originally it would turn up, eat these little bacteria, and do its thing. And now it's got humans. It's kind of just been freestyling. It's kind of what Miller's saying. And Holden's kind of listening to him and going, there's no time pressure, because it's, we understand roughly in this chapter, it's like a week until Eros reaches Earth at its current rate, but the missiles arrive in 30 hours, so they've actually got a load of time. And he's going, Eros now isn't what the protomolecule's designers planned on. It's the original plan laid over the top of billions of years of our evolution. When you improvise, you use what you've got. Use what works. Julie's the template, her brain. So the idea is, instead of bacteria, you've got this, Julie's brain, or this human evolution, and it's kind of affected the protomolecule because it's being built on that rather than just goop. Miller kind of explains his plan is if I can make her understand what's really going on, I can negotiate with her. Holden's like, why the fuck would you do that? Why would it even negotiate? He's like, I can tell you damn sure this isn't about wiping humans out. The things that shot Phoebe at us 2 billion years ago didn't know what the hell humans were. Whatever it wants to do needed biomass, and it's got that now. So what, you think they didn't mean us any harm? You seriously think if we explain that we'd rather not have it land on Earth than it will land somewhere else? Miller's like, not it, her. It's the idea that all it wanted was biomass. It doesn't really give a shit about us. It just wants biomass. It's just eaten 2 million people. It's probably fine. Which I do think his argument falls apart there, because there's no way to know if that's enough biomass. Because you don't know what it's going to do. You don't know what it wants to do. But Miller goes on being like, it doesn't give a shit about people, but Julie loves people. She's about as independent as a person can be, and she loves us. Us, Holden asked? People. She loves humans. She gave up being a little rich girl and joined the OPA. She backed the belt because it was the right thing to do. No way she kills us if she knows what's happening. I just need to find a way to explain. I can do this. Give me a chance. Can't do it, Holden said. Stakes are too high. And then Miller goes, even if that's not true, she'll beat you, Miller said. What? Okay, maybe she won't, but the protomolecules figured out how to get around inertia. And Julie, she's a fighter, Holden. Then Holden thinks about, as that video we saw, maybe 40 chapters ago now, of Julie fighting her for attackers on board the stealth ship. She was methodical, ruthless, and the only thing that made her lose was the other guys were covered in armour, while she was kind of like a prisoner and just in like a onesie. You could find her, Holden said, and use the bomb. If I can't get through to her, that's my deal. Holden's like, I'll give you what time you can get. It's basically because he's kind of brought on the idea. He's like, fuck it, we'll ball. We've got time, may as well use it. Which again, I'm not entirely sure holds, because if you're blowing up the asteroid, presumably you wanted to do as far away from Earth as possible, so you have more time to catch all the debris and radiate it or whatever. But it's fun. This is more fun. Miller's fun. So Holden has to repeat, okay, fine, that's a fair enough deal. But you realise if it doesn't work, you're going to have to kill yourself and Julie. Miller's like, I know, that's kind of his part. So the idea is, instead of the missiles going straight into Eros, we'll have to take a bend, we'll have to take a curve, so they can still go really, really quick acceleration, and still capture Eros as it gets faster and faster. But rather than a straight line, it gives Miller a bit more time. And she goes, you trust Miller? She said with surprising vehemence. You think he's insane. You threw him off the ship because you thought he's a psychopath and a killer, and now you're going to let him speak for humanity to an alien god thing that wants to rip us to shreds. And then Holden does one of the most male things known, which every boy knows, every man knows. Holden had to suppress a smile. Telling an angry woman how attractive her anger made her would make it stop being cute very quickly. The male mind is the most powerful thing ever made. But anyway, Naomi goes on. He's in the process of committing suicide, Jim. He's fixated on this dead girl. And Holden goes, I know that, but he's on the scene. He's got a keen eye for observation, because it's the one thing Miller's all right at. And he's just figuring this shit out. He'd never even met me. This is all the way back at the start of the novel. And he knew me well enough from researching me to know that I'd like naming my ship after Don Quixote's horse, the Rocinante. And they kind of go all the way, shit, that actually works. If he thinks he can save it without doing the nukes, he has that chance. I owe it to him, he says. So delay the impact, not abort, Naomi said. And then she starts smiling because she gets to do some maths to figure it out. So then we cut. You want to do what? Fred asked. So we ring Fred into this. Poor boy. He's like, I want to pull the nukes off course, just bend the little course a bit, and then we'll give Holden some time. So we'll give Miller some time. Earth has targeted their missiles in the 5 freighter transponders on Eros. Use the transponder reconfiguring program, which they did ages ago, to give Rocinante a different transponder code. And you can keep shifting the transponders to ships or stations along vectors to pull the missiles into a long arc that wraps around back to Eros. So the idea is the missiles are after that one code, and the belt more general, the OPA can just move it around. And Fred's like, the minute the UNN command knows what's going to happen, they'll just they'll figure out some other way. They'll just take back control. Holden's like, if you launch a hacking attack, because they both know, being ex-UNN Navy, that the standard response is just to turn off the mid-flight updates. Don't let anyone update them. Let them just go straight for the transponders, and they kind of go to a very basic autopilot, which is a bit contrived, it feels like. But yeah, I think it kind of works in this scenario, and I think it works in general. And even though Fred's like, yeah, that works. There's no way hell I'm going through it. If we're going to wind up nuking Eros no matter what, why delay the inevitable? Because, Holden said, I'm starting to think this way may be less dangerous. If Miller doesn't manage to talk to it, he'll take it out. I do trust him for that, Holden said. We aren't losing anything by giving him more time. And Fred's just shaking his head. He's not liking it at all. And before he could say no, Holden said, remember that box with the protein molecule samples and all the lab notes? Want to know what my price for it is? You, Fred said slowly, drawing it out, are out of your goddamn mind. Want to buy it or what? Holden replied. You want the magic ticket to a seat at the table? You know my price now. Give Miller his chance and the sample's yours. I'd be curious to know how you talk them out of it, Miller said. So we could cut back to Miller. I know, he's like, we brought you time. Go save the girl and save humanity. We're waiting to hear back. And then also, we're going to nuke you to death, if not. Miller kind of goes on finally. I mean, she's got to park this thing somewhere, i.e. like her ship in this kind of analogy they're working in. If we leave, if I can save her, if the miracle is true, like that's what we can do. Holden shrugged, even though no one could see it. Give her Venus, it's an awful place, he says. And then chapter ends. So it's a fun one, that. I think I like the way it opens with Miller being like, look, you know I'm not mental, and you have the blood work. I think it's quite a fun dynamic. I like the back and forth between them, Miller being like, believe in this passion, believe in this idea. Like, it's not personal, it's not personal, kid. It's like I think he said before. Like, and the logic of it just being a machine, it doesn't care about people. There's no point humanizing it in terms of it wants to kill humans. You can work its way around. And also I think the idea of Miller kind of articulating his like love, admiration, obsession with Julie, but in a slightly more positive way, I think is interesting. And I like the way Holden responds and like, no, and then being like, shit, I kind of owe the bloke, or I think he's got something. It's fun. I enjoy that. And also Fred being like, I'll cut you a deal at the end. It's just quite a very on the way, as we know that character, how he works, and Holden selling that kind of thing he's talked about previously. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and we're very near the end now. It's exciting. And I hope you have a lovely week. Quick note afterwards, I realise I record these in advance. This is coming out Christmas Eve, so I wish everybody, all my boys, a Merry Christmas.